All right, Brooke, good afternoon. We're back. What is going on? What's happening?
So can I just rub it in that your Pats
You
lost?
man. You may.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Hey, at least you made it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say it's tough, when you see your team lose and you do have a little bit of superiority over like, oh, well, your team wasn't even there. But yeah, it's just painful to lose in the
So
final
hurt.
because you feel like it was so close. Not that this one was close at all, but you still feel like, well, if we would have played differently or whatever the case may be. But that's why the champion is so respected because they had to take out everybody along the way, and we just happen to be the victim, not the victor this time around.
Yeah, I went to the AFC Championship game a couple years ago with the Ravens and against Kansas City, and Kansas
Okay.
City obviously beat them. And as my friend next to me said, "Well, Brooke, there can only be one winner," and I guess that's true, right? There's only one winner at the end of the season. Everyone else, all what is it, 31 teams, other teams, they've got to lose. So
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I will say this: no controversy in that game whatsoever. No, like, oh, the refs, got us or anything. Just straight up, good old fashioned beating. The Seahawks
well,
just beat the Patriots fair and square. So,
Seattle's defense was unbelievable, and
oh,
that's why
suffocating.
it made Patriots look bad. But I don't think the Patriots were bad. I think it was just because Seattle's defense was so freaking good.
It's funny. It was a mimic of the game played in that stadium 10 years ago that Drake May attended. If you followed that whole
Yep.
storyline, where the Panthers just got suffocated by the Broncos, basically 9 or 10 years prior to that. So yeah, some years there's just that one team that puts that defense together and they can just crush anybody in their way. And that was that team this year, and we
Fun,
came up
fun
against them at
fact:
the worst time.
fun fact, I was actually at that Super Bowl 10 years ago.
Were you really?
Yeah,
Nice. Yeah, that's
I somehow landed this job where you could go in there, you sell programs for a couple hours before the game, and you get a free ticket. So there was about 3 years I
wild.
went to Super Bowls in a row. So
That is really cool. I didn't know that. Well, there you go. Nice. Well, speaking of Super Bowls, I think we've got someone who's going to be a future champion, if you will, in our industry. So excited to talk
future
to Jack
MVP.
today. Yeah, definitely future
Yeah.
MVP. He's going to get that accolades one day. Brooke, how'd you guys get connected? How'd you meet Jack? And then we'll go his way for an intro here in a moment. But
Yeah, it's been a couple of years, and he's been a longtime Vintory partner, which we always appreciate. But I think it was at like usual. Was at probably at a VRMA conference back in like 2021, 2022, something like that. So
yeah,
yeah,
awesome. Well, Jack, because you're so young, and we're joking about that before you hit record, maybe some people in the industry don't know you. We also learned you have a fear of planes and going to conferences, so that may have limited your reach even further with the audience. But if you don't mind, a short intro, background about you, Haven Vacation Rentals, kind of what you're focused on today as we get started here.
Yeah, I watched the Super Bowl for the Anthropic ad, so that was the main main tune in. But I didn't watch it. Yeah, I mean Haven. So I started. My partner actually founded Haven in the city near the Smoky Mountains. We're based in the Smoky Mountains. It was under a different name. It's kind of just like managing some Airbnbs on the side. He's quite a bit older than me, and then we kind of linked up as we moved into the Smoky Mountains. Like, kind of make a long story short, essentially. And so now we're, partners running Haven together. We also have a cleaning company together. So Haven manages right about 270 properties, and then Tendwell cleans properties for self-managers as well. Obviously some Haven properties too, but it's a separate brand that focuses on self-managers in the Smoky Mountains. And so essentially today we are just focused on running those two. Moved more into the Smokies in the 2020, 2021 timeframe. So it's been about, I guess, 6 years now. And we've just been, kind of centrally focused on growing the business. I would say we kind of hit some plateaus from 23, 24, and then experienced some better stuff in 25. And then I feel like we're in a really good spot going forward.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a large competitive market, and it seems like you picked up a lot of inventory very quickly. I know we have our questions that we're going to go through here, but I guess like what would be kind of some reasons that you feel like at a high level that you guys have been able to expand, relatively quickly and get that amount of inventory? There's people that have been at this thing for 10 years that don't have that many homes, in
Yeah.
other markets. So I'm just curious what you attribute that to.
I think like, especially when we moved to the Smokies, the brand is pretty unique. So, like just like our website, like just the very basic stuff is a little bit more maybe younger, I would say. I don't know if that's the right word. There's a lot of older management companies in the Smokies. So people who have been around for a long time, legacy, companies essentially. And we just kind of came in and was like, hey, young guys, our names are on the website. We have like goofy titles. Like my title is Jack of all trades. We have like goofy titles on our site. So people were like looking at that, just like super intrigued. And we also developed realtor connections early. So I think honestly, the brand just kind of took off on its own. Not that, there was just an easy button we pressed or anything. It was just a lot of like relentless sales follow up and process and stuff like that. But I just think the brand gave us this company is like just totally different than these other legacy companies.
I would echo that. He's done an incredible job, and Jack. I tell you what, hats off to you. You've done an awesome job of just marketing and building up a great company. And you're a young guy. We're just talking about that. You're 26 years old, and the fact that you've grown this fast, this quickly is amazing. But yeah, you nailed your messaging. You follow literally like all the key messaging points that we talk about and we coach our partners on, and just if you go to your website, it looks really clean and modern. It looks like it was designed by a new marketing company, not a 50-year-old or 30-year-old legacy brand that's running on old tech. So great job, and I'm sure you're going to be continuing to grow pretty fast here in the near future.
Yeah, thanks, man.
100%. Well, I'm sure, Jack, along the way, you've learned some things. So that's kind of the origin of the podcast outline today is this kind of list of 10 mistakes that you sent over to Brooke. And we're going to kind of go through them one by one and pull out what we can from each one. So if you're cool and we're cool, let's dive right in. So number one was throwing people at problems instead of process. So I feel like we're often told this in our business, right? We need to have an SOP. We need to have a document for everything, that sort of thing. But I guess walk me through your education process here, Jack, between finding maybe the right balance between documentation and then when a person needs to come in and actually run that process in your business.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I guess a caveat on some of these things is like, I'm actually still, a lot of these things are mistakes I still make and I have to like reel myself back on. And I was like, this is still one of those. Like I still just like, oh, there's this problem going on. I just want to like hire someone to not think about this anymore. So as my partner and I linked up, like there was a lot of this. And so we overhired extensively. We also like just didn't know how to run a vacation rental company. And we did experience some explosive growth, specifically like in 1 year, I think we added 100 properties, just like lots of growth. So like, we just need to hire people to deal with this. And I mean, when I say zero process, I mean, we had like no Google Docs. I don't even think we had a Google Drive. We had nothing for anyone to refer to anything about. And so it was just an absolute nightmare. So I would say the year 2023, I remember just being an absolute grind of like developing SOPs, and it sucks to make process whenever you have like 120 listings. Like you have to go back and figure that out. This is a pretty big mistake, but now I kind of look at this and okay, someone tells me we need to hire a position is how essentially this goes. Like, hey, overloaded in this area. I do a lot of research, like, okay, what's going on here? Like, can we solve this with process? Can we not? And then very, very slow to hire anyone, I would say, like just very slow to hire people. We also have a very good retention at our companies. Like people stay and work here. So we aren't having to replace people. So like, I need to see good growth, projected growth to be able to say, okay, we are going to invest in this. And here's why it can't just be process. AI helps a lot with this. So I actually have a note here. I didn't send this to Brooke, but like whisper flow to Claude of the problem, and then like Claude co-work to Notion of the SOP, and then like sending that back to the team and being like, will this fix it? A lot of times the answer is yes. And it's like, okay, who just needs to own this? Like this is like a monthly recurring or a weekly recurring thing. That's been super helpful to do stuff like that.
I love that. It's so funny you just said that because I was literally going to say, like, whenever anyone comes to me now and says, hey, Brooke, we need to hire for this role, my first response is, well, how can AI, replace that? How can we just, replace it with AI and not necessarily hire a body? Can you kind of double tap a little bit on what you just talked about? So just explain to everybody what, I just loaded Whisper Flow on my computer yesterday. I love it. But can you explain kind of that workflow from Whisper Flow to Claude? And
so I just have Whisper Flow is actually a great software. I think it's kind of blowing up right now. I've used it for a while. And essentially it's just good dictation, like good speech dictation, but it, you can like you can correct yourself when you're talking. So you can just like stumble through like 10 minutes of speech essentially, and it'll like fix everything, and you can customize.
You got all the ums and ends and clean it up. Yep.
Exactly. And essentially I just do that into like Claude or whatever you want to use, and say, here's the problem. This person said this, XYZ, or if we're in a Google Meet, I just pull out like my, Fireflies meeting and put it in there. And then I let Claude determine like, they want to hire. I don't think we should. Here's why, blah, blah, blah. I need you to make an SOP, like co-work, go make an SOP for this inside of Notion or ClickUp. We use ClickUp, whatever you want to do. And if you have it set up, it knows your tools. It knows like, okay, this person would use, these CRMs, these like softwares, like it'll actually make a very detailed process around this. And so essentially you can avoid needing just to hire and throw people at problems. And sometimes you get to the end of it and you're like, oh yeah, we just need an extra set of hands. I actually have that right now. There's a specific role in onboarding where I really don't want to hire someone. I really want it to be, processed with AI. And the reality is like, we might need to hire like a temporary contractor because we just need hands. And so sometimes you get to the end of it and you find that out, and it's good to know.
Yeah. But I think that's a common thing, isn't it, right, Brooke? Is that the moment maybe an employee is met with that initial friction of, oh, this isn't going as fast as I want to, that's their solution, right? It's like, well, if there was just another one of us, it'd be easier. So it's kind of like, as the business owner, small business owner, fighting for margin, fighting for profitability, like you have to carefully weigh those options, right, and see how things actually need to go, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And just asking the question, like, what would happen if we didn't?
Like, exactly.
Start the conversation there.
We did a little bit of a delete thing towards the end of last calendar year. So this was like a November, beginning of December project, which is like looking at everybody's recurring to-dos and recurring meetings and just having a little bit of fun with deleting. And that was actually very empowering and lifting to my team of like, there was 5 or 6 reports that I deleted that I was like, the client was asking for this. They weren't looking at it and reviewing this report regularly. Let's just delete it and see what happens. And like one of those reports I haven't heard from until like last week. And they're like, oh yeah, is this report being updated? And I'm like, well, we didn't do it 9 times in a row. And you finally asked about it. So, okay, you are looking at it, but not that often, right? I would have heard about it before then.
Yeah. That actually is a good point. There's a point down here that we'll get to about speed and stuff. We've over processed a lot of things. And so I've had to dial back, like, specifically recurring tasks in these areas. I want this to be recurring. I want you to know exactly every week, every day, that click these things off. And it hurts like the speed to be able to change direction. So if I want to change the direction of the company, like I want people to be able to buy in and, be able to do that quickly. And I don't want them to be overly tied to something super intricately detailed that they're like, I have to click the thing off every time, So, yeah.
And the problem with reoccurring is if you're not managing reoccurring, it'll just kind of become like this blob that just gets bigger over time a little bit. And then you may, I found this too. We had some duplicates where it's like, or near duplicates where it's like, okay, we had a budget pacing task over here. And then we had a check budget, allocation task over here. Yeah. I'm like, let's just make one task. Like it's easier. So.
For sure.
All right. I'll be real brief on this. So I had a guy, I used to own a mortgage company when I was in my 20s and early 30s. And I had this one guy that was, he did just like odds and ends and like create reports and, run things to FedEx and all this other stuff. And I remember I asked him to do something one time for me and he was like, Brooke, I just cannot do one more thing. And I'm like, okay, well, tell me what you're doing. Like, what are you so busy like all day for? I build this report. I build that report. I do this. I build this spreadsheet. And I realized like half the things he did, he literally would build these like spreadsheets that nobody ever looked at.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make your life a little bit easier. Let's all these things right here, get rid of them. And the same thing, nobody ever asked it afford again. At one point, someone asked him to do it. So he kept on doing it. You told him to do it. So he did it religiously, and it just piles up. It's kind of like the government a little bit,
Yeah.
Delete it.
Yeah. I think that's probably a really healthy exercise for the listener is like do a spring and fall cleaning or something like twice a year. It's like going in there and looking at all the reoccurring meetings as well. I think we dumped 3 meetings out of the reoccurring list as well. And we're like, let's just make this a small part of this overall meeting, or one we change from like biweekly to monthly is, just buying time back. So super valuable. We'll keep things moving over here to number 2. So doing everything for clients instead of the core offerings. So Jack, I'm sure a lot of folks listening fall into this bucket. Oh, we're going to help you with everything. But what was kind of what did you end up determining was your core offering? What were the things you left kind of on the side and didn't end up doing?
So I would say now that we have some scale and like me and my partner are in positions where we're not required in the day-to-day of the business, we can explore some of this more as experiments. But I think there's a big difference between like, okay, I want to experiment with something versus we are just going to do everything to try to get customers and like be everything to everyone. So yeah, core offering essentially like short-term rental property management, like very like basic, especially here in the Smokies. Early, we did like full design projects. We did full furnishing projects. I remember we worked with like large builders from like building properties to continuing management. It's like none of those are like inherently bad things. And they don't even sound like, that drastically different from just doing normal property management. But I mean, there was a time we had 15 design projects plus furnishings going on at the same time. I was like, this is not, this is not good. and is really pulling a lot of our team and focus into something that is like, we just didn't make any money doing this. And honestly, it just didn't make any sense. So we just kind of cold turkey stopped all of it. We're like, we don't do this anymore. We only do management. We did that for a couple of years. And so now we're getting into more of like, and we didn't even have like in-house cleaning. We were like, we don't even focus on that. We're just going to do management only. So now we're like verticalizing a little bit more. Again, like we're not required overly for the day-to-day. So we have the experimentation of like, I just want to look into this thing. And I think it could be cool and it could be a cool offering. And I'm going to either build a team around it or, throw some capital at it or whatever. But early on, it was like, we're just grasping to try to get customers and to try to keep them happy.
What happened when you, I guess, to those customers and those vendors and things like that, when you finally said, you know what, we're not doing this anymore? Were they upset? Did it like burn any relationships or?
I mean, so we finished the ones that we did, which didn't take that long because we didn't have that many going on at that decision time. And then people that would ask, was like, we just don't do that. So nothing happened. We thought like the world would end, but nothing happened. Like people were like, okay, cool. Like I'll get someone else to do it, but I'll still use you for management. I was like, great.
Yeah. I mean, Brooke, what's your reaction to that? I guess where it's like some people have this idea of verticalization and they want to do it as early as possible. They want to add as many services as possible. They want to be as helpful as possible, but it can come at your expense of like jack of all trades. I know you're joking about that earlier, Jack, but master of none. Like, where do you see that balance point, Brooke, with the companies that you've been involved with in the past?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I've seen it from both sides. Like I worked for a large company in Orlando where they essentially, they designed the home. They then contracted with a builder to build the home. They owned an interior design company that they designed the home, and then they managed and marketed. And we actually, many times we had a real estate company, we sold the home. So talk about vertically integrated. And like from the maintenance side, I mean, we essentially had a pool cleaning company. We had a painting company. We have obviously a cleaning company. Like it was from soup to nuts, you know what I mean? So, but then I've seen other ones where literally, I think Jack and I talked about this before, but like when I had Vantage, like luckily my business partner owned a cleaning and maintenance company. So like it's kind of good news, bad news. Like I didn't have to focus on that. Like I didn't have to worry about that. I just had to worry about growing inventory and booking guests and servicing them, and then let him worry about the cleaning and the maintenance. Now it was also bad because, it was kind of like a built-in customer. Like we had to use them. So there was no accountability. And like, if they weren't doing a good job, then it was, came onto our shoulders from our owners. But it, they couldn't really fire us, or we couldn't necessarily fire them. So I don't know. I don't think there's one right way to do it, because obviously All-Star did a fantastic job, when they were vertically integrated from beginning to end. But it's running a much bigger business, and much more complex than just like
I feel like it's, I was going to start to cut you off. I didn't mean to do that. I was going to say, I feel like it's your experience level. It's like, I had no experience running a business at all. It's like I had no business trying to do 4 of them like at the same time. But yeah, as you grow, like, okay, now I know, like I can run, these things, I can spin something up. I think the Rise Collective does this really well. I know a lot of people know who they are, but like they have all these different things. They have like really good people like over these different, like they've kind of figured something out of like, okay, they have like really good talent. These guys know what they're doing. They're not just like, we're going to see if this works. And, there's a level of that, but they had experience going into this a little bit.
Yeah. I just like your idea. I do like your idea, Jack, where it's like, all right, focus on just small, simple, you know what I mean? And then slowly add, to it, if you get that good GM running each division.
We just had him, Jack, on the AOH feed, so I can put a link to that in the show notes. Maybe people can check that out, because we just had Elliot on, which was interesting, and he had a lot of things to say about local property managers, a lot of things that were kind of interesting. So
that's good.
Definitely has a unique perspective, that's for sure. He's an interesting guy. I like it.
Yeah, it's very impressive what they've done, though. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But even he would say, he was like, he didn't do the mortgage lending thing until he was like, he said something to the effect of, I sent out $200,000 in commissions one month, and then I was like, why am I doing this? So it was he would say like, we were scaling, we were getting big, and then we were like realizing that we need this service over and over again, and only then did they decide to do it. So they ended up being their built-in customer, but only after that business was large enough to support, I'm sure, a leader and someone to come in and do that thing. It wasn't like, I have 4 homes, let me go do design and everything on top of it. It was like, I'm onboarding 50 a month is kind of what he said in the interview, and then I may as well do the mortgage lending referral to my own bank account, not to someone else's bank account. So a lot
for sure
learn within there. scaling fast and all that kind of stuff. Excellent. We'll keep things moving. Number 3, not having a vision or goals for the whole team to buy into. So how do you communicate the vision and goals for the team to actually understand and acknowledge? What's your process for that?
Yeah, this was definitely a pretty big problem. We struggled to cast like good vision and to motivate people onto things. So like, I remember early we would even say like profit number, like we were like overly transparent in like what we were trying to achieve as a business. And I just don't think it was very helpful. Like no one really bought into that. And we kind of just like shifted from that. So EOS did help us a little bit. We implemented EOS like years ago. And we still use a version of it, I would say. But it helped us kind of fill out that sheet. I forgot what it's called. Your VTO. VTO. And so that was helpful for the team to be like, okay, these are like what we're focused on. Now I do this in a little bit different of a way. I do quarterly videos that we send to our whole team. And it's literally me on like a webcam or walking outside, sometimes for 40 minutes, which sounds like a long time, but we got a lot of maintenance guys just driving around in the field. And I just like ramble about, I mean, I have like specific goals, like for sure, but I'm like, hey guys, this is like what I'm super excited about. I've loved like seeing our company grow in these areas. Like this guy's doing a great job. Here's this cool story from, these owners or these guests or this person. And I just try to roll with it for like a significant amount of time and just make it overly personable. And just try to have like singularity of focus of like one super big thing. Like, out of everything I said for the goals, like the focus, the lens for the quarter is this, or the lens for the year is, this. And essentially like, if you come to me with a decision, I'm going to say like, how does it help us get to X? Is it going to get us here or not? And if it's not, doesn't mean we can't ever do it. It just means like, it's probably not a focus for the next 3 months. And it just kind of gets everyone aligned, and it's almost like a conversation, even though I'm not talking directly to them. So that seems to have helped. That's just kind of my own style to it, I would say. I don't know if that works for everybody.
I love it. I love that. Can you give us some examples of some ones you've done like recently? Like just what are some of those visions, or what are some of those like solid points?
Oh yeah. One of them is we had a really good, this is actually funny. We had a really good churn quarter in Q4. So we just didn't churn a lot of owners. It was like great. And somehow a few, like someone was like, wouldn't it be cool if we just like reduced that by 50%? Like we had a goal to reduce churn by X%, and we did. And it was like super exciting. We were super happy. I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we did like that number by 50%? So that's like our goal for Q1. And I made that like a very big, like, this is the goal. Like everything is through reducing, and that's going to be tough. It's a stretch goal. Like, I mean, we reduced churn by a lot. It was great. And so we'll see if we make it there, but yeah, that's like, sometimes it's a moonshot. Sometimes it's not overly, complicated. It can be like easy to buy into, but I would say it's a version of that. Like reducing churn by 50%. There's a lot that goes into that. It's not just like hope it happens.
Yeah. And do they have to set their own goals, for the quarter? And do they usually roll up to like the vision that you set?
Yeah. So we've actually done both. I would say for about a 2-year stretch, we had departments setting their own like top vision goals, and departments would set their goals based on those, and we'd hold them accountable. And I still think that's a really good way to do it. Now I have like my own personal scorecard. So we used to have a company scorecard. Like we move very lightly and quickly now. I'll get to this later, but it's like, this is Jack's sheet, and fill out Jack's sheet with like what he wants to know. And then, it's going to be some specific goals. And like, hey, owner relations team, like this is all that matters. Like this specific goal is all that matters. Don't focus on anything else. And they buy into it, make sure everyone's buying into it. But what I found is people will just kind of come up with like, oh, this would be cool. Like we'll send these cards out maybe. And then the last week of the quarter, they're like, I got to do my goal. I got to do my rock, and it's like, well, it doesn't really move the needle. I mean, it's a good thing to do, and it's a project. But whenever we collaborate on like one big thing, singularity of focus for everybody, it seems to go better.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I'll admit, Brooke, that's something I've struggled with a little bit in the US framework, is people saving their rocks. Like Jack was mentioning, they're like, oh yeah, I'll do it later. And then, yeah, they kind of rush to finish it at the end. I don't know. I struggle with that. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, of people rushing through the rocks.
Yeah. So where we solved that a little bit is we use 90.io, and I really like the milestone feature. You know what I mean? To me, that like you break down every rock into like, 4, 5, 6, milestones. And if you lay it out well in the beginning, it actually, it takes these larger projects and just breaks them down to a bunch of to-dos is really what it does. and it actually works out pretty well. That really helped us because exactly everyone would wait till the very end, and then literally like the 2 days before the quarter ends, they knock out their rock, and I was like, literally like you just to check the proverbial box,
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah, which is like any project is just a series of to-dos. It's kind of like classic getting things done. I don't know if you ever read that book before, Brooke. I think you and I talked about that one before, where it's like, everything is just what's the next action that gets me closer to that thing, whether it's putting a man on the moon again or, whatever. I got to order new windshield wipers for my car. I put that on my to-do list the other day. So, always fun stuff there.
No, GTD, if anyone hasn't read that book, Getting Things Done, or just even, well, you can probably just go to any LLM, your favorite AI of choice, and literally just give me a summary of Getting Things Done by David Allen. It's probably one of the things I think I read that book. We actually had an instructor come to my old company before I started Vantage and taught that. So I mean, it was probably, we're looking on 18 years now, and I still use it probably every single day today, even to this day.
There's so many little things in there that are just like valuable little fingerprints to have. And I think what he acknowledges in the book over and over again is like, you are going to fall off the rails with this and that's okay. And like, here's my system to get you back on track, which I think is very valuable and something that maybe EOS doesn't have that exact framework in it, or it's, at least it's harder to enforce, I would say, because there's so many individual components to it. Whereas GTD is more of this personal idea, personal system. So I digress. Again, we'll keep things moving. Number 4, not hiring experienced people specific to the industry. So, Jack, you hear different schools of thought on this. Let me take a ball of clay and mold it to my own shape. And hey, I don't want someone to come in with all this preconceived notions of how to do it at the old company. It's probably different over here. How have you found that to be kind of like, if you hire people with experience, how do you teach them your way and get them to buy into your way?
Yeah, I mean, I'll use like an example of our owner relations team specifically talking about. I think this is like where it's most applicable. There's obviously other areas and like guest communications and things, but I don't know why it took so long to realize this. We would hire, like for our owner relations staff, we would hire someone from like, a college graduate in communication, or like, some previous history in some level of administration or communication or account management at like a university or something like that. And like, okay, sometimes they would be good. Sometimes they just like wouldn't like the industry. It's a difficult industry. It can sometimes be a 24/7 industry, as everyone knows, especially if you don't have great process early. So, and it just like, they didn't like it, and it showed. Like they ended up going to do different things. We had an extremely, difficult time keeping a core team together until I was like, I'm just going to try to find people not from like direct competitors, because a lot of times they're not able to come directly work for us, but someone like on the outskirts or directly working right outside our market or something. So like we were able to get some like really good team members. And to your point about people early, I was like, yeah, I want to mold people to like our culture, our company. I don't want to have these preconceived. What I found was we'd bring in, like we brought in someone from like Vacasa in like Georgia or something, and they ended up moving here. And it was like, we just do things we're so much faster. They don't have to like ask for anything. Like, oh, you want to do this for this client? Just do it. Like, yeah, I mean, we just move much. Our culture is it kind of goes back to the vision, is like not having everything overly built out. It's just like, we're focused on this like main thing, and whatever helps us get there, like you're empowered to do it. And I think that just that culture people like. And so they get here and they're like, I've gotten this feedback. Like, this is, extremely different than the last company I worked for, like extremely different than the red tape I had to jump through, or, the checklist I had to check off each day before I could then go do the thing I needed to do. And that's just seemed to prove valuable. And yeah, they do have the experience, which helps. Like they know how to talk to owners. They know how to they understand the problems they're dealing with. And so that's just been a huge win for our team. I think that we have, I feel confident saying, I think we have the best, or one of the best, owner relations like manager in the country. Her name is Summer. She works for our team. She's absolutely incredible. And I also think we have one of the best owner relations teams, and I'm just overly like proud of them for what they've done. And they're just a fantastic team.
Everybody's going to start recruiting Summer now, so watch out.
Do not come for Summer. Cut that.
Edit that.
We'll cut that post. Don't worry. We'll cut that post.
So I did the same thing when I first started. I only hired people with experience in the industry advantage, because I had to. I came from mortgage banking. Like I didn't understand what the heck I was doing. So I needed to have people that understood the business. But I think once, after a couple of years, once I actually learned it and I kind of knew it, like, I think I shifted focus, and I just wanted good people. Like, you know what I mean? That, like, and Conrad's sick of me, this is our inside joke, like drinking game. Like, I'm going to mention culture index, every time you say culture index, you got to drink. But once I got the right profile, like the right person, and not necessarily the resume, but they had like the right personality profile, I knew that's all that mattered. Like, it didn't matter what the resume said, because they could learn it. It's not rocket science, what we're doing here. But initially, yeah, I mean, the first 15 hires, 100%, like, they had to understand the vacation rental industry, because they had to teach me how to freaking do it,
Yeah. Yeah.
I found both situations in my business, honestly, where I've hired people with experience, and it was, to your point, Jack, it was such a culture shock to them of how we did things that it was hard to untrain them a little bit, or they would fall back into old habits, and it was like constantly reminding them. And then I've also found people where I hired someone with relevant experience not too long ago to come in and do a specific job, and I was like, oh my God, like, I did one onboarding call with him, and he's like, yep, I already know how to do it. Like, I was like, oh, that was easy. Like, and he was building out so much faster than anybody else that I'd ever, began to work with on my team before. So I think there's, pros and cons, and people are just unique snowflakes. They each have their own sort of pros and cons, and you've got to figure out what works well for you in your business, for sure.
I think I'm getting better at, a big part of what I do is trying to get good talent. And I think, like, I'm getting better at understanding, okay, I need to be able to hire and train for skill and culture. I think, like, I've just, tried to outsource the skill part. Like, I just want someone that has the skill, and then I'll train you on our culture, on how we move, how we do things. And I can just focus on that and not have to worry about, do you know how to use a CRM, or do you know how to deal with owners and understand like how the business works and how the money flows and all that stuff.
Yeah. It could definitely be a culture shock, I think, for some people to have something be run so differently that, there's always pros and cons to it, and working with people. And then their coworkers, like if they're around other people that, have gone through the transition before, and they've been like, yeah, that's not how we do things here. Like, that's kind of culture to some degree too, right? What's being said, what's being decided when you're not in the room enforcing it. I feel like it's a valuable heuristic there as well.
Side note, if you want to come be a great owner relations manager at Haven, hit me up.
We do the opposite of what we're going to cut out there. So add to the team, not reduce it. So all good. All right. Number 5, not having a personal focus. I don't think we've heard this one before, Brooke. So what am I good at, and how do I get the way out of my team? So how do you look at this, Jack? Do you kind of make a list of things, like the anti-to-do list? Is that kind of part of what you feel here?
Yeah.
Like, I shouldn't be touching this. I shouldn't be touching this. But
yeah, I would say this has come to fruition more in the, like, I'm not required in the day-to-day to run a lot of the business. And so it's, how do I not essentially like mess all this up? I have a tendency to want to improve things or have good ideas and want to roll those ideas out. And so my business coach right now is basically just telling me, like, just sit on the sidelines. Like, things are going really well in Q1 specifically. And like, I just need to, not touch anything huge, just like help people where they need help. But now is not the time to send out one of these videos and be like, this is we're going to Mars. It's like everything is humming well right now. And that's not always been the case. And so, like, a lot of times I've had to focus on the biggest problem. So now my personal focus is the constraints. So it's like, what is always that constraint that I can work on? And I have the luxury, honestly, of just like only having to do that. Like 100. That's why I think like our company can move quickly. It's like 100% of my time is focused on the constraint all the time. And so, one area right now is like AI. I'm working a lot on just some cool AI tools that, one, I think are cool and like I like to spend my time doing, but also have moved the needle pretty drastically. And, I think it's going to make a big difference for our company.
I assume you have a really good like GM or kind of COO or integrator.
Yep. My partner is our COO. So we don't have like a traditional GM, and we kind of split responsibility in the business. So he runs like the operations side of the company, and then I run, sales, marketing, brand, all that stuff, plus owner relations. But like I said, like, I think I have one of the better owner relations like teams. So like, I'm just not having to essentially run owner relations. I have a owner relations manager that runs all of the team too. So we have that pretty well built out. So yeah, we're split in those ways.
I feel like, Conrad, most successful companies that we've seen in the space, they have that dynamic, right? You have like the visionary, the sales and marketing, and then you have more the CEO, traditional CEO role that usually oversees like sales and marketing. And then you have that like brass tacks, that COO that like architect like operator that's really good at just running it. If you get that part right there, you get that part right from the beginning, like you've got something magical, you know?
Yeah. I think JJ and Riley had this pretty well too at Beachside. I think they have a really good dynamic.
Yeah, I agree.
I found it a few times for sure. And I remember there's one client I have that I've worked with for a long time now. They're in Georgia. And I only dealt with basically the Jack equivalent. You know, I only dealt with the guy that was sales, marketing, and creative, and how are we going to get bigger and stuff like that. And I didn't even meet this other person for like 3 years or something. I'm like, oh, you reference this person all the time, but I've never actually met them. And I called with him one time, and I was like, oh, I'm glad you're not in this seat because you don't really know what you're looking at here, my friend. You know, like he's looking at Google Ads results, and he's like, wait, we're spending $5,000 a month on Google Ads, and where he's like, yeah, look at how much money we're making out of it. And this guy's like, no, that scares me. And I'm just like, okay, I was talking to the right person this whole time. It was just kind of a funny dynamic to kind of go through and learn.
Yeah. What's interesting
how different
is
these people were.
Yeah. We switched. I was the COO and he was the CEO. And then we switched roles where like, I think it would work better.
How did that conversation go?
I actually can't remember how the conversation went, but it really is like skill set. We took like a lot of the EOS visionary integrator stuff. And we did like the predictive index. So my partner is a maverick. He is not like this like overly detailed person as an integrator might seem. And I could fall on either end of the spectrum. I was very like, took the test. I was like getting both of them each time. I was like, okay, this isn't helpful. And so I just really liked sales. And I was like, I think I could be good at just doing this. And so we do have a sales guy, but I'm going to lean into that side and then all the customer stuff. So it's like, I think it just makes sense to do this. And it's actually a pretty easy, like, okay. He does not want his face that he's like super private, like doesn't want to talk to anybody ever, doesn't know a soul. No one knows him. So he's happy with that.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like the switch was the right move if there was no resistance. Like I would imagine if there was some level of resistance, that would be tricky to deal with, you know, especially given the dynamic you described earlier.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense. Maybe I'll combo these together, Jack, because I feel like they're kind of similar. So you mentioned number 7 a few times already, which is not having enough speed. But number 6, you've kind of referenced this a little bit, but we can combo these together. So number 6 was being vague with requests or recommendations to my team. So you've talked a lot so far about these kind of long limb videos that you then break down into smaller chunks of information, single word focus, that sort of thing. So how has being clear helped you? And then how does going fast help you kind of make better decisions and stuff?
Yeah, being clear helps a lot. So this is specifically for like one-off things, like, oh, there's this problem going on. Like an example that I would used to do and still struggle with is like, hey, John, like it probably wouldn't be a great idea to try this. I would probably try something else. I feel like if you do this, like this is going to happen. And the guy gets that and he's like, well, this is like, what am I supposed to do with this? And just getting like more clear on, hey, here's what I would do and exactly why I would do it. Try this. And, you know, that's helpful. And then the other part that's helpful is just what do you think? Like come to me with a plan. So that's what the whole company knows. Like if they come to me and ask me something on the phone, especially, it's just like, it's an automatic reply of what do you think? They just shouldn't call me if they don't have like a proposed solution. And so, yeah, I would say that number 2 thing has been the most helpful is like, tell me your plan and I'll tell you if it's good or bad and what to adjust on it. And that's just helped a ton. And yeah, it helps them be more clear. They come to the solution themselves a little bit, even if it's wrong, even if they need to tweak it a little bit, they kind of come to that solution themselves and they kind of own it and are like, okay, great. I know what to do. And they know it for next time. Speed is like kind of hard to explain. This is what I think is the most important thing. And so this actually took a while to figure out. And we are naturally slow to do things, like slow to make decisions, slow to reply to emails. And starting the cleaning company really helped me figure this out. We saw this opportunity to help self-managers in the Smokies. The market shifted in a specific way in the real estate industry. We're like, okay, I think this is a good idea. And I just was like, I'm going to do this so fast. And it really paid off. And it's not going to pay off every time. Like we made so many mistakes though. And so specifically like speed of iteration, I believe is how we have been able to really excel quickly. It's because even the Facebook ads, like I was going to do this myself. And it started from like, who's the best I know at this? And can I pay them to do this faster than I could do it, to like ramp me up? And I was just like, okay, I'm going to do that instead. Or, you know, another like version of this is how do we go from like, you know, cleaning 0 properties to cleaning, you know, 50 in a month or 2 months with no facility, no process or anything. And like, we were able to do that. And I can detail the ways that we were able to do it. And it was extremely painful, from like going to sign a lease and have no idea how to do like commercial leases, and the police shutting us down, and, you know, moving hundreds of thousands of pounds of linens through different like cities, like running out of storage units for 2 days at a time. Like, these are wild things, but I was like, we're going to go so fast because, you know, no one's going to be able to catch up with us. Like, there's no competition right now in what we're doing. And, you know, I believe that we can win, and I believe we're going to be first to market. Super helpful with the management company as well. Super helpful because people now know, like, we just move fast. Like, when we talk about our culture, it's like, we will move fast. And it's kind of goes back to Facebook's, you know, move fast and break things. I don't necessarily want to steal their words, but I love that. I'm like, it helps now that we have a somewhat scaled company and a team where, like, if we do break something, great, I can throw resources to fix it. You know, it's not going to ruin everything. So let's start breaking stuff, and let's move quickly to the goals that we want to have. So yeah, I would say this is like the number one thing for me is speed. I think this is a big differentiator for us in the market. When we bring on owners, how fast can we be live? Oh, in 20 hours. You can be live in 20 hours. Like, what the heck, 20 hours? Like, yeah, we'll send someone right now. It is just, we're so much faster to get to a result. And then the trust is built, and they know we're serious. So it helps in sales, helps in operations, everything.
I think I've seen the most successful companies they're very fast paced. And I have a very high sense of urgency. Like, if you look at my predictive index or my culture index, I have no patience at all. Very fast.
Yeah.
Very, very intentionally, I've hired like 98% of our team has a very fast-paced person. Like, there's only like 2 or 3 people in our entire team that are actually patient. Everybody else is fast-paced. Now, we have a lot of accurate people, a lot of detailed people, but everybody is fast-paced. And one of our core values, Jack, is bias for action. Slow down the big decisions, speed up the rest. There's probably 3 to 4 decisions per year you need to make that you really need to slow down, because they are, as Conrad and I have talked about, they're one-way doors. They're not two-way doors, right. Decisions. And you've got to really think it through and get it right, because if you get it wrong, it's really going to hurt you. It also, but the rest of them, like 90% of your decisions should be fast-paced. And you know what, like Elon Musk says, you're going to make mistakes. If you're not backtracking 20% of your mistakes, then you actually aren't making enough decisions, and you're not doing quick enough. And it reminds me of, there's something called a OODA loop. So it's a OODA loop. It stands for observe, orient, decide, and act. And it's what pilots use when flying. And that the best pilots have a very quick OODA loop. Like, they can go through that process much, much faster than everybody else. And the pilot that has the fastest OODA loop is usually the one that lives and survives. Well, the same kind of thing happens in business. If you have a fast OODA loop, you're going to be more successful than everybody else if you're iterating much quicker and you're doing that thing. So again, observing, orient, decide, and act. And I know, Conrad, you agree with this, and you've done some research on this too.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's good to bring up pilot stuff, as Jack is a lover of flying. So that's
yeah.
I think we really appreciate. Yeah. I mean, I think where I struggle here, to be honest with you, is there's been moments in the past where I've been so fast that my team feels that breakneck speed in a bad way, or like you are pivoting and then there's people on your team that are like, wait, I thought you said we're doing it this way. Now we're doing it this way. And there's people that I know can be knocked off balance by that. And I do think, Brooke, it is a balancing act to finding those people on your team who almost need them in some spots. Like, I think you want your accountant to be like a boring and patient and predictable. I don't think you want him being like, yeah, let's just try this new method of accounting. Like, let's just see what happens. Right. So there's roles and there's spots where I think you don't want that. But I think when it comes to like developing new things in the business and kind of coming up with new ideas, like my ads managers, you want to have one of those fast decisions of like, let's try it, see what happens, get data, come back and try it again. So I think that it depends a little bit on the context of what you're doing. And I've certainly had my fair share of trying things quickly, them not working, going back, and then having to tuck my tail with my legs a little bit, go back to my team and say, sorry guys, we're not doing this anymore. I completely messed up here. And that can feel, I've felt in the past almost moments of like, sorry about that, in just moving on. So I try to find the middle ground there. I know there's moments where I struggle, and I might tend to act on my own first and then bring people in behind me once I feel like, okay, I've acted first, I've learned something. Now let me bring in someone behind me to kind of help and double check on this project and make sure we're headed the right direction. So that's been kind of my lean on it, at least personally.
Yeah. I like think the simplest version of this is like, I just want to I'm going to make mistakes faster than my competition is going to make mistakes. So like, we don't have 90-day sprints. Like we have, I like to say if I can do something in 90 days in 9 hours, like, okay, everyone clear their calendars. The next 9 hours we'll get it done. And then if it doesn't work, we figure that out in 9 hours, not 90 days. So great. Now we'll move on to the next, iteration. That's a little bit of an extreme example, but that is like, when I explain this, it's like, we will make mistakes faster than our competition and we will correct them faster than our competition at like not a double the rate, at like a 10x the rate, faster.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we've been so successful, too. And it reminds me of, I did a post or a newsletter, LinkedIn newsletter on this. It's like, and the quote was, gas fills to the size of the container, so if you give somebody a month, it'll take them a month. You give them a week, it'll take a week. If you give them a day, it'll take a day, to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's so true. I mean, I think that, and I fall into this camp myself too. Like, especially there's something that's like, I don't know if you ever read that book. There's a book like Eat the Frog. Jack Zoppa. They made me read that in college. It was like your freshman assignment. Like the first thing they do is like do the most uncomfortable thing first. Cause that's another part of it too, which is like when you're acting quickly and then doing the thing, part of that thing that you're acting quickly on, you probably don't want to do. Like it's a piece of it that you don't want to do. And if you can act on that thing, then the rest of it actually feels easy too, where it's like, oh, I did the hardest part. Nothing bad happened to me. Like I got it done. And now there's 4 more things I need to do, but they feel easy. It's like, oh, that's easy. So that's another one that kind of comes to mind there as well. You've talked on people and hiring a few times already, so I don't know if we have a lot of new things to say here, but not empowering leaders soon enough. You've kind of mentioned the homeowner relation team that you've kind of empowered. They are somewhat autonomous, if that's a fair description. So what's kind of been your management style, or how do you empower people so they can act in ways that you find appropriate?
Yeah, I've just always like had the leadership style of empowering people. I don't know. I mean, I think it's a good leadership style to have, I guess, if you're going to have one. And I have like the problem of I give them too much autonomy, versus like so I definitely don't have a micromanagement issue at all. If anything, I like let them make too big of decisions, but I think it's good. So yeah, our team has like an unnatural ability to make decisions when they think they should, and so kind of go back to like our owner relations manager has like an unnatural ability to change pricing for client, change like some specific things that she'll let me know, but like I'm very I want you to be able to make these decisions for what you think is best and make sure we're aligned on like where we're going. Don't do anything that's going to hurt the business. And this comes with training and trust. Obviously, you need to have team members who are with you for a while and you understand like, okay, they're bought in here. But yeah, I mean, just giving them like the options, letting them choose, or if they see something like they know that they can decide and let me know or let my partner know. And I think that just, again, helps us move faster.
Yeah. Makes
so
sense.
If you're keeping track at SCORE, this will be our second core value that we're going over. So one of our core values is autonomous team. We trust and empower our team to make independent decisions based on our core values and support them even if they're wrong. So I actually learned this one from Steve Schwab at Costigo, and he actually said something that was really cool. He realized that most decisions were not made by him or where he was around. So he's like, how do you give your team, like when they're out in the field and you've got multiple locations, like they can't run everything through you. So like, make your best choice. And, if you don't have the information, like just fall back to the core values as your guiding principles, to do that. And I thought that was interesting. And I stole that one from him and put that into our core values.
Yeah, that's cool.
Makes sense. A pivot here, not one that we really touched on necessarily too much so far, but taking the cheapest software options, I mean, Jack, what's kind of been your journey here through your technology stack? You mentioned you've been with the same PMS for a while, but like, how have you kind of had to learn what tools are right for you in your business?
Yeah, some of this isn't necessarily just about cheapest, but also like, I would say just like taking your time on deciding as well. I mean, obviously you don't just want to pick the cheapest thing because it's most likely not going to work that great, and price shouldn't be the only decision, but just having like understanding functionality, use case. Like I'm very specific on tools that we use, and we do use a lot of technology, and I don't switch technology often. It's also hard to switch technology when you have 270 properties. It's like not easy. Every conversation is like, do you have white glove onboarding, please? But yeah, I think like this can make or break a lot of things. Like you'll have access to, better tools. I don't know how to like specifically say this, but process gets a lot easier if you have tools that can help you with process or even do process. You can replace a lot of process with tools. SuiteOp, for example, is a great tool. Like you can replace a ton of process for the guest experience on that tool. I think everyone knows how much you can replace on Conduit. Like a significant amount of your business can be, valued through that. But again, like I move as fast as I move slow on the big decisions like changing software, because it is like, okay, I know this is like what we're going to run our business through. And right now I'm a design partner on a new software that's coming out. You can probably be released in Q2, I think. So I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah, that's like the only like thing I'm doing right now on the software side. Like I'm very like, okay, I might do a design partnership. I might explore one new thing, but I'm never like shopping around ever. Just like, I like what we use. We learn what we use. And we want to make sure it's a good fit.
Yeah, maybe Brooke, buy once, cry once would be a good fit here. Like you pay for that software, that's the premium one, but then it's like I don't have to worry about it. It's the right tool for the job to some degree.
Right. Well, we know just how difficult it is. We talked about this earlier, just how challenging it is to switch softwares, and especially PMS. So you want to do it once, and it's obviously much easier to do when you're smaller than when you're bigger. But real quick, can you just talk about SuiteOp and Conduit? I've heard a couple people recently talk about how much they like both those platforms. So just give a quick plug and how you're using it and how that's
Yeah, I mean, Conduit is an AI platform, so it's going to help with AI communications, and it's a great tool. Like, I mean, they have a really good workflow system. So I have a case study I did like yesterday on this on their website. If people want to read like some very specifics about how I implemented, I do like multiple calls a week with management companies about this, just like talking with them about it. But it's essentially an AI platform that allows you to communicate or like push workflows back to your team. So it really changes how we operate our whole guest experience, because we're able to like pull out some specifics and push it back to our team in a way that's easily digestible. And our team's able to focus on like big problems going on. It's a very high level of it. So it's like, it'd be worth like looking into these tools. I also think a lot of tools are great. A lot of tools have come a long way in the past like 6 months specifically. So a lot of brands out there doing a good job. SuiteOp does like lock management. They do, a bunch of like guest portals and things like that. They're just a very tech friendly company, I would say. Like the team is really good, so they build things quickly. We're somewhat of an earlier partner with them, I think, like very early actually with them. And so again, like another like design-ish partnership, we're able to work on features, and they have just a lot of great stuff. So they connect integration wise to each other extremely well. It's just elevates guest experience like super drastically.
Right on. Awesome. Well, 2 more questions for you, Jack. We got one on my side and then one on Brooke's side as we come to a close here. Maybe a fun one to end on to some degree on my side here. Not meeting more people in the industry sooner. So relationships have helped you tons. Has it been conferences? I know the fear of flying doesn't help, but what's kind of been the thing that's helped you a little bit, meeting more people in the industry? Chats like this, I imagine.
Yeah, I'm going to force myself to fly to conferences. I said I'm committing to trying to fly to California for the executive summit. And then Verma's in Nashville, which is 3 hours from me. So I'll definitely be there, and I am driving.
That's easy peasy.
Yeah, that's a drive. This has been super helpful. Like I was just kind of in my own world, and going back to speed of iteration, speed of mistakes, like being able to kind of growth hack your way through masterminds or through whatever it is, like develop these relationships and just text guys like, hey, how did you figure this out? And they're like, oh, this is exactly what I did. Like, great. Like I just solved that problem that was going to take me, 3 months of pain to figure out. And now I can move faster. And so it's been, selfishly, that's been cool. It's also just been cool to see, like, I get inspired by talking to people, what they've built, what they're doing, in all aspects of our industry. And just like, it's really fun for me to see, oh, you guys are doing this in like a totally different way than us, and a way that I think would like never work, but it is working exceptionally well for you. And it's like super cool to see that. And I feel like I just learned so much. I always learn something that I'm going to take away. Like, okay, I might apply this in this way, even if it's really small. So that's been really cool. I think for a while, I just didn't want to be in the public eye. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but like really, I just like was doing my own thing. And obviously now with Meta ads, I get a lot of inbound like people on my face, on my name, like wanting conversations about whether it's other management companies or clients or, vendors, like, it's just like kind of blasted me all over the country randomly. So it's been interesting to get used to that. But again, great relationships from it. And I'm just meeting so many cool people right now.
Yeah. The masterminds. So when I launched Vintory, one of the things we did was we launched these masterminds, And I actually facilitated up to 10 at one point on top of like building the company. So once a month, 10 different groups. And it finally got to be too much. And I just ended up outsourcing it to Tristan Webb. And he did a great job of that and actually ended up spinning it off as a separate business, which I think, are you on the STR directors?
Yeah, I'm on one of his. Yeah. One of those as well. It's a great one.
But I learned so much. I learned a ton from it. I mean, imagine, you have, 10 hours a week, or a month, I'm sorry, with just of your customers and your peers and your colleagues and learning what other people are doing. And the feedback and the experience sharing between those groups were so powerful. I mean, it's worth thousands of dollars a month because, we were just giving it away for free as a perk of using Vintory, but it is a great way to learn. Highly recommend everybody join some sort of mastermind. And if you don't have one to join, reach out to Tristan Webb over at STR Directors. There's other ones out there, or just form your own. Just find some, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, of your peers and your colleagues that are in maybe non-competing markets, and it'll be one of the best pieces of advice I've ever given.
Yeah. So. I feel like getting like an event together as well is pretty cool. You can just spend some extended time. I have some ideas that I want to do on that, so maybe I'll roll something out.
I like it. I'll be there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Brooke, I think you got to take us home here. Last question for Jack before we let him go. We had to make a little tweak to it, by the way.
That's right. So normally we ask Jack, what would you go back in time and give your 25-year-old self some advice? What would it be? But then we realized you're 26 years old. So that would just be last year. So let's change this up a little bit. So if you go back in time and go back to your 18-year-old self and give some advice, what would it be?
I guess to be open-minded. I was like in graduating high school, going into college. So I had no idea what I wanted to do. I did graduate college, not in business, like at all. I had literally no entrepreneurial, no business mind, basically at all. I mean, I somewhat interested, but my brother went to like a big university for business. My dad went to a big university for business, and I couldn't even get in. So that was like my starting point. And so I was like, well, that's not in the cards for me. And I just got into it, like, by happenstance. Like, I think the Lord's providence just kind of led me into this path, and I just started obsessing over it. So like the biggest piece of advice would be, I guess, don't feel bad for obsessing over it. I think when I was like 18, 19, 20, and then as I started doing this, my friends were like, why are you like working so hard? Like, why are you working so much? What are you doing? And that I had a big inflection point. I remember with on a phone call with my dad. I was like driving and just talking about it. And he was just like, no, you work hard. Like, that's what you do. So, you can choose where you want to put that, but you work hard. And I was like, well, that's just like helpful to hear, at least for my, motivation style. And so I just I would go back and be like, yeah, don't feel bad for like getting somewhat obsessive over like, I just like this idea. I want to learn more about this. I want to like be better at it. And, just kind of fuel that fire a little bit.
I like it.
That's right.
As good a spot as any to end it. We need someone to do one more thing and work really hard on their side, Jack, before we come to a close here. And that's they need to work really hard at opening their application on their phone and leaving us a review. So go to iTunes, go to Spotify. That's where you get the most downloads. Click 5 stars, leave a review. We're not going to convince awesome guests like Jack to come on, young rising stars in our industry to come on unless they see a lot of downloads and a lot of reviews. So we appreciate that. And we'll catch everybody on the next show. Have an awesome day.